Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today as we come together to learn more about managing Microsoft Teams. My name is Hussam Mohsene. I'm the program manager for the Reactor in Abu Dhabi. Microsoft Reactors are a hub for founders and developers to meet and learn and connect to local peers as well as industry-leading ideas and technology from Microsoft partners and the open source community. It's also home for the Microsoft for Startups program, with a diverse mix of hands-on workshops, expert panels, and community events. There is something for everyone. Check out our calendar of events on meetup.com and join our coming sessions. Our speaker today is Satesh. Satesh is an award-winning information technology professional with a decade of experience, awarded as an Office Server and Services MVP by Microsoft for the year 2014 till 2020, specialized in Microsoft Cloud, Office 365, Microsoft Exchange. He conducted numerous projects worldwide in designing, supporting, and implementing messaging and virtualization infrastructure for medium-sized businesses to large enterprises. Feel free to ask questions during the session. We will have regular stops to answer these questions. And also feel free to tweet about the session and tag us on Reactor Abu Dhabi. And the handle on Twitter is MSFT Reactor. With all that said, I hand over the mic to Satesh, to our speaker, to start the session. Thank you so much, Satish.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you for your nice introduction. It was fancy and good. And let's go inside the session. And thank you, everyone, for connecting into the session and sharing your valuable time with us. And hopefully, you will, when you finish the session, you will take something. And like, what the purpose of this session is, like, let's see, like most of the organizations have been pushed worldwide into getting inside Microsoft Teams, and people have started using it and people are loving it. But I want to share like how to manage it efficiently, like how to create a team or when to create a team, when you can push for a chat group, these sort of aspects. Totally, it's my experience, which I went through in the past a lot of months, which I will be sharing with you. And hopefully you guys will have a good time. Before that, okay. So about me, which is already covered by Usam, like I've been in the industry for past decade and I'm doing a lot of stuff. Initially, I was a Microsoft contractor for a couple of years, so that's where I started my career. So I was a Exchange V- guy, and that's where my career started. And I came through a long way, and I've been a community community contributor for a while, and I write a lot of scripts which is used worldwide, and I live in Abu Dhabi right now. And so what we will be seeing today, so we'll be seeing about teams, channels, private channels, like how to administer a team. Let's consider if you're giving ownership to a team, how to administrate efficiently, and when you need to create a team. It's like because every team creates an Office 365 group in the backend. So for it's absolutely necessary, like when you need to create a team, if you're running an organization, and if you're going to have, you'll be audited or something like that, you have to need to you need to know when you need to create a team and how you will be managing it in terms of data loss prevention, and so many aspects we will check. And we will also cover like how to design a dynamic team, and we'll cover a little bit of Teams PowerShell and what are the types of guest. So let's go inside. I don't have much of slides. I'll be talking with you guys, and will be a lot of practical session, so that you guys will not be bored for the next 50 minutes. Let's get inside the Teams admin console to start off the session. It's like most of the time there is a usual question like asked like, come on, like everybody is using Teams, like should we throw off the Outlook? My usual answer to them is like Outlook, it will remind like for a business communication, but when there is going to be a lot of conversations, like, and the decision cannot be made in a certain point and a lot of people has to show their inputs, then email is not the place where you can discuss and come to a conclusion. So that's where the Teams will be taking over. And just that is the positive aspect of Teams as well. So let's go into Teams. Let's go into, so let's consider, let's see what is a team, what is a channel, what is a private channel. For by default, in every organization, every user can create a team. So every user can create a team. So it means like every user can go inside and create an Office 365 group. So when you're going to decide, like when you're going to deploy or for an organization, you have to know if it's a small business or a medium business or a large business, how they are going to use it. For example, if you're going to allow everyone to create a team, so you're going to end up with maybe like if in a 500 user environment, you might end up with 500 to 600 teams. And in terms of Office 365 groups, it's going to be 500 Office 365 groups. So which I call myself is it's a open approach. And the closed approach is you will limit the number of users who can create teams. And so only the owners can create channels. So it's kind of a closed approach. So when I always like the closed approach because in terms of the culture point of the company, it totally depends on the culture point, like how they are going to use the teams. If everybody is going to create a team and everybody is going to add members, if it's a small business of 200 to 100 members, it may work out. But if it's going to be a large organization, if everybody is going to jump in and create their own team and with their own project name, and if they're going to add members from anywhere in the department, and if they're going to add guest users from anywhere, you absolutely you will lose control on what's happening in the environment, what data is being shared, and which data is who's watching which data, these, and which teams have guests from external organization. Like you will lose absolutely the control of the organization. So let's consider, so for what myself is, I always recommend a closed approach. Later you can even in the open approach, like everybody can create a team, but if everybody is going to create a team, what happens is you have to have a proper naming policy, then you have to proper group expiration policy. But I'm not going to cover the open approach. I'm going to cover the closed approach because most of the companies requests a closed approach. Like, so let's consider you have a normal script available in TechNet. So you will create an Office 365 group and you can restrict who you can create. I'm not going to cover those steps. It's a very 5-step process. Like you will run a script. So let's consider you will limit the number of users who can create teams. So you can proceed from there as a first deployment step. And it's absolutely, it totally depends on organization if they want a closed approach or an open approach. So let's see a team here, So before, let's consider if you have a team, let's consider you have a team. This is the team and this is your channel. This is your public channel within the team, and this is your private channel. This is your private channel. So whenever you see a lock, so it's called as a private channel. If you don't see a lock, it's not a private channel. So why you need a private channel? So let's consider private channels was introduced very recently, like maybe like 6-7 months. I'm not sure the exact date, but before private channels, like when you create a team, everybody can see all the content. So let's consider like a development team. Maybe the backend team will say, front-end team, let's not front-end team look into our discussions and what we are discussing. So earlier it was not possible. So what people tend to do is they create a team for backend, they create a team for front-end, they create a team for mobile dev. So it's a dedicated team. So for myself, like let's see, if you have more number of teams, so more number of SharePoint sites in the backend, more number of Office 365 groups in the backend, so you have a lot to manage. It's like a lot of content. So if you have more number of teams, what I see is the number of usage over the teams is you will be seeing less number of channel conversations happening in the general tab, because maybe the backend team is leveraging like 15 members, like, you know, you will not see much of. But after introducing private channel, it totally changes the way you design. For example, let's consider you have a private channel here. So when you have a private channel here, if you're a member of a private channel, you will be seeing this. If you're not a member of a private channel, you will not be seeing this. So let's consider you have a development team. You can bring the whole development hierarchy into a single team, so that if you have a private channel, only when you're a member, you will be seeing that content. So when you don't see a lock, it means a public channel. So you will be seeing all the content. So in terms of information technology, before this private channel concept was not there, so it's not possible. Earlier, you will be forced to create an application team dedicated, infrastructure team dedicated, and every team. So let's consider if you bring in like 200 or 300 members within a team, then you can see a lot of conversations happening in the general tab. But if you don't condense the number of users into a team, you will not see a lot of conversations happening. So these are the things you have to think. So let's consider you have a team, and let's consider you have a team, and what are the roles available. So every member has like a owner and a member and a guest. So owner can add or remove members. He can do like add tabs, remove tabs, and by default, even the member can create like a tab or add a tab. So when I say a tab, they can like add tab or remove tab. So even these things can be disabled and be allowed only for the owner. So this is in terms of guest. So in terms of guest and federation, there is a two types. So let's consider you are a guest. You can invite a guest from an external organization, and he can be a member of this team, and you can be a guest to some company or any company. Like for example, I attended a Microsoft summit, so they invited for me as a Microsoft guest, and the other US based company invited me as a guest to be part of their team. And so you can see like this as a drop down. So guest gives us a lot of leverages, like you will be shown in their address list, and you'll be you can be a part of the team and this approach. And the federation approach is like it's coming from the old school of Sky for Business Federation. So let's see where you see it. So let's see the external access. So if you see this external access enabled, then the Sky for Business Federation will work. So guest access will work like this, like you'll be a drop down, or if you're a member of a team, the guest can log in and see this team. So he can be a non-Office 365 user. He could be anyone external to the organization. So even the guest access has to be like justified if it's going to be a government-based firm or a firm which will have a lot of data restrictions. And if you want someone outside the organization should not be seeing your data, then you need to think about disabling guest access. Or if you don't have such constraints, you can keep the guest access enabled. For Sky for Business Federation, like federation works like this, you know, the old school, like you go here and search for the external user like gmail.com or care.in, something like this. So you will be seeing this externally, then you can chat with him. This is a Sky for Business Federation. This will require the link SIP Federation DNS record, which is if you had Sky for Business initially, then you would have that record automatically. So when you have that record, and if you have this, if you want to block to a specific domain, for Sky for Business Federation, you just add on a single domain, then you can say allow or block the federation between specific companies. So guest access, similarly, you can allow or disable guest access, and you have a lot of optional settings. So the other thing which we saw is like when you need a team and when you need a chat group. For example, when you see a team, let's consider what we see is at least it should be like 15 to 20 members. Otherwise, the team is going to be underutilized or people will never use it. You know, people will chat and so if it's going to be 4-5 users, the chat group should be more than enough in a large base firm. And if it's going to be a department, then create a team. Otherwise, just go on a chat group. So how you create a chat group? Let's see how you create a chat group. Let's consider you want to have this. Shika. Then you say press. Then you say hi. Then yeah, then you rename the chat group as marketing something like this. Then you start the conversation and later you chat and do a lot of conversations. Then it similarly, then you add some people later. Then it asks you like, do you want to include chat history, or these options are very good, you know. So if you want to limit him on a specific conversation from there, if you want to see, or you want to see, you want the person to see all the chat history which you had in the past, you know, these are good options available on a chat group. So when there is a less than 10 members, we usually recommend like, let's go for a chat group, you know, instead of a team. If you're going to be a dedicated department, as we have private channels right now, let's go for a big department, then you create a team. So the more condensed and more number of users in the team, it will be utilized. Otherwise, it's we don't see people stop using channels, and you know. So limiting the number of users who create teams, which we already discussed, is simple script available on TechNet. You just log into Azure AD and you just run the script. It should be very easy. And let's consider you have organization-wide team. Earlier, when you create a team, you have 3 options. Let's consider you create a team like this, and you have 3 options. Like create from, build a create from scratch. You have a public, org wide, and a private. So earlier, when you say org wide, every user in the organization will add automatically. You will not be able to control, like even if you're going to have some a junk mailboxes and so many things, still it's going to be there, you know. So you will not be able to have a controlled membership when you do a org wide membership. But the good part is now Azure P1 is available for even business premium customers, which is the after the small business, like the business premium licenses have P1. The P1 gives the dynamic membership. So let's consider, let's go here and show you. So what this dynamic membership does is it's just a basic if you have experience in dynamic groups in Exchange, it just works the same way. It's not like something super. It's the same concept, and the good part is you just link it with the team. And so let's consider you create a group. So let's consider you choose a security group and say test dynamic. Then you say test dynamic, then membership. So if you don't have a Azure P1 license, you will see this grayed out, but most of the customers, you will not see this grayed out because of even from the business premium customers, Azure P1 is becoming free. It's like getting added to the package. So you will get to this dynamic user. And let's consider you just choose the owner. Then the dynamic query comes in. So most of the time, a department is the ideal case. So just say contains information technology, or if you want to have a or something, if you can keep adding, this is a good part. So let's create one dynamic channel. So let's create, we have created a dynamic channel now. Let's create create a team. Then you say, see, you have two options. One, you create a team from scratch, then you create a private group. The private group will not be visible for all the employees. Only when they are a member of it, it will be visible. Public is like a community group. Let's consider you have a basketball group or something within the company which any people can join, or if innovators team or which anyone interested can come and join. It could be a public group. Otherwise, for department based teams, it's always remains private so that only the members can join. So when you create via this, what happens is it creates an Office 365 group, or you can go the other way around, create from the Office 365 group. So create from an existing Office 365 group and choose the Office 365 group. Then I'm going to choose the dynamic team which I created. Okay, like this. So let it create the team. Okay.
Let's answer some of the community questions while that is loading.
Sure, yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'll stop here. If you guys have any questions.
Yeah, so a lot of questions came from the community. I'll start from the first one. Some were already covered probably, so maybe you want to highlight quickly the answer to each. So the first question was about sharing slides resources after the presentation, if there's anything that will be provided. Just to note to everyone, the session is recorded and you will be able to access it as well using the same link you have now. We have also a question about, do we have a limitation for the recipients to be added to teams?
Yeah, it will be there is no, there is a limitation, but that count is far higher, like more than 1,000 or something, if unless you're a very large organization. But I will share the technet limit. It will be, I can share the technet limit in the end of the session on how many people can be within a team. Definitely is more than 2,000.
There is another question on the private channel in Teams. What does
Yeah,
that mean?
Which is like private channel. I say like within a team, if it's a private channel, only if you're a member of it, you will be visible to it. Otherwise, if you're not a member, you will not see it. So which helps us to cover, like you can compress or condense a team with a lot of members.
There is a question on the closed approach. So is that only that certain people can create a team, or everyone can create channels?
See, yeah, for channels, so let's consider if you put the script, the TechNet script, and limit access, only the specific users can create teams. But for channels, you have to come and change the settings here. So let's consider you come here, and if you see it here, so you have to like disable this so that the members cannot add channels. So for channels, you will see it here. For the team, the top team, so if you disable this, only the owner of the specific team can add the channel. Other members cannot add the channel. Okay.
Also, a question came, do we receive notifications from other organizations, teams, channels that are not the active ones?
As of now, you have a good usage report for not on the other organizations, but for your specific organization, you have a good usage report here, which you can like you can judge like Teams usage, like Teams usage, then say last 30 days or last 90 days. You can see like which team is used, which team is nobody's using, how many messages are posted in the team. So which is a good place to judge this team is utilized or not, you know.
Another question, if I have one Azure AD P1, is it enough to create dynamic group?
No, every user has to be having a, like, no. If you have a business, you need to have for all the users because it's a per user license. And that's it, yeah.
There are a few more questions.
Yeah.
So the scope of, what will be the scope of Exchange and Skype for business on-premise admins and architects? Since people actually he posted the question.
Yeah, the question
so
is
since
like
people move,
why
yeah.
in the world of cloud do we lose jobs is kind of a question, right? So what I feel is I started as an Exchange administrator back in 2009, and earlier it was called as BPOS. And see, when the technology evolves, you will have a lot of things, and you will see a lot of non-IT users in this world who will require our help in certain cases. But like currently you need to know cloud. Without knowing cloud, you cannot run the show, and most of the organization I see will remain hybrid because Active Directory is not going away anytime soon. It's going to take some years. So all the users who are going to be hybrid, so you have to know the on-prem technologies and the cloud technologies. So the scope is always there unless you start learning things more, you know? So how do you convert a public group to private group? This I have to check and come back. But this is possible if it's an Office 365 group, you can play around in PowerShell as much. Like you can change the SMTP. Like you just think about like it's just yeah, yes, it's possible. We can check that.
So there is a question. I'm not sure if the audience can elaborate more. I mean, the person who asked it anonymously. We have a question on when we chat with the federated user, is that an encrypted one?
Yes, it is an encrypted one, and so it is encrypted and it is safe, you know, because it's the old school of it's you just do a Sky for Business Federation through like it just runs through the federation record and checks for the Microsoft gateway and see the other side of the organization to retrieve their address list and starts chatting. It's a more secure. It's also a secure way. It's been in the market for a while. You know, we never had any breaches or so on that aspect. And
couple of more questions, then we continue, and we'll have another stop for questions as well throughout the presentation.
Yeah.
The
other question is
on the Azure AD.
If I have one Azure P, it will enable dynamic group, but the organization won't be licensed. No, like you can try that, but definitely like Azure P1 comes even with the business premium customer now, you know, unless you're more lower than the business premium, you will not have Azure P1. Like business premium is the, I think it's the second layer or the third layer of the Office 365 licensing model. So definitely you will, I will share a TechNet link later in the session, like what are the licenses they are giving out Azure P1 for free right now. So you will cover that. Okay, so let's continue. So the other question is before that, is it possible to receive email notification when someone posts on a particular channel? See, in terms of notifications, Microsoft Teams works on a very good model, like a chain model. So let's consider it's when someone is trying to reach you or tag you, it's going to generate an email. Uh, so if you're not like it's going to generate an email to saying that your employee, your colleague is trying to reach you. So can you reply on Teams? This is one aspect. And in terms of the mobile app which you're having on iOS, on an Android, it has a lot of notifications options. You can just have a look at it, and it has the quiet hours option, so we can quiet from some hours to some hours. And on a channel, if somebody is going to tag you, you can specify, you can say, you can turn off the bell on the channel or a specific channel. You can silence specific channels. You can have notifications, all notifications on a specific channel on a phone. You have a lot of options on that aspect. And also you have an option like when the desktop client is active, don't disturb on my phone. So you can see those options on an iOS and Android model. So you have a lot of options on that aspect. So yes, the answer is yes. You can get notified via email. So if you're not responding, the teams will start generating an email. You can look at Microsoft Flow also. You can explore those options. It gives you like thousands of options, which is the next layer if you cannot find on the default one, because the Flow, even like it has a lot of options. Even like when an email generates, post on this channel. When an email generates, post on that channel. You can leverage that. So the other thing in a hybrid scenario, what we are doing also, like if you see in the Middle East and in the Asia region, there is no such concept of voicemail. Like if you see, I cannot say there is no such concept of voicemail, but if you will not see users who are checking voicemail when they miss a call. It's very rare. The percentage is rare. But if you see in Europe or US, the number of users who are going to check voicemail is more. In a hybrid scenario, who people are missing calls, it's going to generate an audio link and start generating a lot of emails to users. If it's on the cloud and if it's going to be a 50 GB mailbox, people really don't care. But and in a Middle East region, if you're going to be in a hybrid scenario, it's going to generate a lot of voicemail emails to the on-prem Exchange server, which is going to cost a lot of data. So you can disable that as well. Which is you can do it via PowerShell, and once you do that, you can see the calling option. This in this tenant, I didn't disable it, but this will be going off. I will share those links how to disable that as well if you require. And the other aspect is let's consider if you want to bring some conversation from Outlook to here, then you come here, you get the email address of this channel. So you can post that email to this channel. So which is a good option. Let's consider you have a lot of thread and you have like 70-80 discussion happened on an email. If you want to move that conversation to a team quickly and start building upon it, then you can use it. So it will not come as your default domain. It will use the Teams domain, the custom Teams domain, to generate the email. In the advanced settings, you have an option like it's just for security purpose or for spamming. If somebody gets to know this email is anyone can spam, or only members in this team, or you can say only sent from these domains. You can set this setting in the Teams level, or you can set this setting on the tenant level as well. You will see an option somewhere here. Let me show you. So what are the other? Yeah. So if you see here, you can turn off the email integration. Some companies don't want to bring Outlook emails here. So it's totally depends on but I see it as if you're going to be on fully cloud, then it's good. If you're on a hybrid, if you don't want to pass the emails to the cloud, if you have a certain clause or some kind of configuration, then you need to disable this. Or you need to keep enable and you put your authoritative domains only here, so that only that specific domain can post emails to this channels. So this is one of the aspect you can see. Then the other thing is kind of taggings. Taggings is a good part. It's like so let's consider you have something, it's exactly like a Twitter or Instagram, or it's just a so let's consider like you tag specific, like tag like this, or a specific mailbox, or you tag the whole channel like information technology. So in terms of let's consider if everyone has like notifications turned off for a specific channel. If you put the channel name and tag them, and if you're gonna press enter, it's gonna post a notification that someone is trying to reach you for all the users on the team. So if you're going to be a 150 users or 200 users, you cannot ask them to go and turn on the notifications for everyone. So if you keep using the whole channel name for 2 to 3 times, you will get notified on the phone if it's on an urgent matter or something. So the other thing is let's consider you have a large set of people, and let's consider you want to create a tag for specific set of people. Then you come here and you create a tag. What it does is so let's consider, it's not a good area to learn, I'll show you here. So this is where it's called tags. It's like if you're into VMware or PowerShell, it's kind of a VM tag. It's kind of a user tag. Let's consider you have 17 people. You can say you want to split that 17 people to a specific set of people. Let's consider this guy is from service desk, or this guy is from, let's consider SD, like create SD tag. So you can have SD tag, infosec tag, or like a storage tag, for tagging a specific group of people in a large team. Let's consider you have a 300-member team, and if you want to tag specific set of people on a specific set of notifications, then you can say just tag SD. So only the SD people will get tagged in that email. So the other things I want to know is this feature, what you see here is very important. If you don't see this, and if you're using Teams, it is not good. And if you're owner of some channel, and if you don't see this option, so this is a very good place. Instead of posting just like this, if you post like test, like change the fonts, and like make it like italic or something, so then you can post here like if you see, if somebody is going to tease you, or you don't want someone to reply, you better put like this, so that they can only react to the message. Or that is one part. So let's consider put like one announcement. Then let's consider you make an announcement. It looks a little bit different. You change colors. So important. Something like this. If you want to notify, you can change colors as per your company branding or something. It's gonna look totally different. You see the announcement logo, and you can, in the same message, you can tag specific set of people, or you can tag the whole channel. It's up to you. And when you create a team, and when you post files here, this part is getting stored in SharePoint. So if you have a SharePoint knowledge, what happens is every file you post, every file you edit is going to get inside the same SharePoint technology, like versioning, editing, like deletion, retention, everything, all the settings, whichever you see on the SharePoint is going to take effect. But on a chat group, when you post something on a chat group and share an Excel file, for example, then this is not going to store in SharePoint. This is going to share in the OneDrive for Business. So the other good part, which not everybody is utilizing, is like it's exactly like a Google Drive or something. Like let's consider if somebody wants to have like online editing, like online office. So you just post, let's edit this sheet together. So if you just create a chat group, then everybody is going to click on the chat. Everybody's whoever member of this chat group can click on the sheet and start editing, which is a good part. And if somebody is going to editing, you will see them they see their names, which is good, and you can start working. It same applies for all Office documents like PowerPoint or like Word, so all these things. So in terms of analytics, which we already covered, like I'll stop here for some questions. If I have any questions, I'll just answer them and then move on. Please feel free to ask any questions. I'm just here to share my experience and share my knowledge which I have. So
there was a question in Teams, when we go for federation, what components of Teams handshake with other domain? Or is it exchange from backend? Do the regular function like in SFB Edge plays a key role?
no, in this case, Sky for Business Edge will play a role if you're on-prem. Let's consider if you're going to chat from an on-prem Sky for Business and to Teams, then if you're an on-prem, then the Sky for Business comes in. If it's going to be a Teams to Teams, and if you're going to have this federation record, I feel they are trying to use the Sky for Business technology with Teams. So that's why you could feel a little bit confused. That's why you have guest access. Parallel, you have Sky for Business Federation, both the options available. So if you have all the users are in the cloud for both the companies, then there is no Sky for Business Edge role here, right? So it's going to be like, it will be like Teams to Teams, but it will be using a federated gateway on the cloud, which is Microsoft owned. Then people will start chatting. So you will not need any Skype for Business Edge in this situation.
There's a question also, yeah, can we utilize the existing audio and video devices after migrated from on-premise to Teams?
I don't see any issue. You can use the same audio video devices. Most of them support Teams, unless if you're going to use something, it totally depends which audio video system you're talking about. If it's going to be a generic audio system which has a software which can Teams can be configured, then yes, it's possible. But if it's going to be a VoIP phone, then it's a totally different discussion, and I don't want to get inside the VoIP discussion. It's a huge thing, and we'll discuss in a later sessions maybe. How to stop users creating users? Where is that option? So one second, I'll show you that. So one second, let me get that one for you. So a lot of thing going on this Teams. Yeah, this article I'll show you. So initially you will not have like this is not available on a normal version of PowerShell. So it comes on the Azure AD preview version of PowerShell. So you have to install the preview version. Then you will be installing the preview, say yes. Then you have to download the script from here, or you just Google the script. You will find the script. Then you will create an Office 365 group. Let's say you have a group creator. For example, let's consider the name group. The Office 365 group name is security group name is group creator. So you will put the group creator name in between these quotes. then you will run this PS1 like this. So what it will do is it will run and it will map the group which we created. Then it will say group creation, group ID. It will get mapped into this uh, allowed group ID. So only if you're a member of this group creators, then you can create the group team. Unless it's not a check in and check out box as of now, you have to run this script to enable this option. So once you do that, if you're not a member, you will see this create team option will be going off for all the users in the tenant, which is, I feel, it's just like this is a step one for any deployment as of I see today, because users, as I not see, I worked in like 7-8 companies. Most of them were Fortune 500 companies. I don't see a place where employees will create a group properly, a proper naming convention, and manage them, which is not going to be possible. So definitely stop creating. Later, if you want, just enable it. Just going to set this to null. I don't see a big deal just setting this to null later. So hope I answered your questions, Craig. And so can we manage teams via PowerShell? I had this list on my, but I'll quickly cover that. I don't want to miss that. So yes, I have this session open. So I'll quickly cover that. What happens is, so you say connect-Microsoft Teams. So I'm not going to do that. And once you connect, then you get the option of get-team. So PowerShell is pretty amazing from my start of my career. If you don't know, and if you're managing Microsoft technologies, and you will waste a lot of time. For example, we have a scenario like I have like 300 users on a team. They created project one channel and project one private channel. So they're going to ask you like, can you create project two private channel with the same set of 100 users? If you're not familiar with PowerShell, this is going to be a nightmare for you, and adding these 100 users manually one by one is a horrible thing. And also PowerShell is getting matured in Microsoft Teams. It doesn't have all the options right now, so you have to know about PowerShell repositories to use it properly. So I'll explain that quickly. So when you go into Microsoft Teams, you will have two repositories. So one is your when I say repositories, let's consider it's a set of commands. For example, you will see production versions. You will see like test versions. So for example, adding a channel user, it's not in the production version right now, and adding a channel user, it's in the so if you see package details, you will see what all the commands available. These commands are not available on the production version right now. For the most used command, which is not in the production one, is like if you want to add people on the channel, it's not in the production one. So let's consider if you want to create a team. These things I use the GUI. To be frank, I don't use the test team 01, for example. I use the GUI to create teams. I use most of the time to copy channel members, which I can show you how to do that. So let's consider you can create a team like this. Then you can say add team user. So once you get the team user, it's like in the mailbox, you will see Sam account name. For example, in Teams, you will always use the group ID. So you just say group ID, then user, then you say, for example, I just add my WordPress account to this channel, to this team. So what happens here is you have two things. One is a team. When you say team user, you are adding the member into the team. So let's consider what I did is I created this team and I added him to the general tab. So let's consider I want to add him into this private channel. So let's consider I want to create a private channel. Let's consider team channel group ID. So I'm creating a channel now. So I'll say membership type. You have standard or public. So this is how you create. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this, but you can always ask me on the questions if you have anything. It's much easier. It's exactly if you're very familiar with any type of PowerShell of Exchange or SharePoint, or it works on the same concept. But what I feel is like if you learn PowerShell basics, you can cover almost all the technologies. For me, if anyone wants some advice on like how to familiarize with PowerShell, they should start with var-object and select-object. You know, first, like let's consider in the mailbox scenario, you'll say get-mailbox, like var-object, and there is something called select-object. If you're familiar on this both, first, this will be a good starting point for you to get inside this. If you're very new to PowerShell, then
there was a question on how does the channel affect where the item is stored on SharePoint? Does each channel have their own document library?
Yes, yes, they have their own SharePoint site. You can see it here. So let's consider. So if you say open in SharePoint, so every team will create a dedicated SharePoint site in the backend. So it could be your intranet, or you can have an intranet in SharePoint. You can add as a tab. You can have as much options you have. So yes, the answer is yes. It has a dedicated site. So
similar question came from Kevin on the SharePoint.
Good. So
there is another question
sure.
on is there a tool to take control of another computer like in TeamViewer?
Yes. Yes, so you have an option of screen sharing options is available. So let's consider you go here. Like let's consider you go here. So the user can say screen share. So the screen sharing is going to be available. You can share the screen. The only disadvantage of this sort of options, it cannot replace options like TeamViewer or WebEx support or log me in. Why? Because in terms of elevated access, if you want to support someone and if you want to run as administrator, then these sort of solutions are not going to work out because the elevated prompt doesn't work great. But other than that, if it's going to be a browser-based application which you're going to support, it's going to be seamless and you will have a good time with that, like desktop sharing. But the elevated prompt will be an issue.
There is a question on recording meetings. Is there a way we can disable that feature?
In our tenant, like in some of the tenants, like we disabled recording completely, which is the only option available as of now, up to my knowledge. You cannot disable recording for a specific user, no.
For the SharePoint, there is a follow-on
No,
question.
the SharePoints, it's per team, not per channel. So if you're going to have a, so if you see here, I'm just running the same. So I'm running like I'm telling about teams on teams, so that's why it's a bit slow.
There's also a follow-on question on that regarding the storage quota being used for the files on SharePoint.
So if you see, it's going to be on the information technology site. Then it's going to be a sub-site called application team. So that's how it works. So the answer is not a specific not a specific site for SharePoint, but if you will get, it will create a dedicated SharePoint site for a specific team. So this is the other reason why I'm saying like we should restrict the number of users who create teams and go on a department, utilize private channels. So a lot of aspects available. And also if you're not going to control like link sharing and guest access in a starting period of on the deployment, you will lose control. Let's consider if you're in a company who will be you will be audited on a specific set of days frequently over the year. Like these sort of data loss prevention questions, it will be very hard for us to answer. Like where is your data, is it like how it been shared, like what is your link expiry date, these are the aspects you need to think, because how many, like who all have access. So when you have guest access, your answer is not, you will not be accurate, because you have to go through the guest access. When you say guest access, like you have, let's consider I invite someone, and by default a guest can invite another guest. So you will not know like how many people are watching your data, so these are the things you have to consider more peer, and you need to have guest access, or these sort of options can be controlled here. I can show you. So when you say guest user, you can say invite user or create a user. So to invite guests. So if you see here, guest permissions, members can invite, guests can invite, these are the options you can toggle around, and you can make as required for your as per your requirement. Yes, for a channel is yes. Up to my knowledge, yes, the SharePoint storage quota will be utilized. Yes. Team storage, yes, if you're going to be used on a chat group, then it's going to come on your OneDrive for Business account, so that you will have 1 terabyte of per user quota. So that will be covered on that. If you're going to post on the SharePoint site, then you're going to utilize the SharePoint storage. Yes. Is there a way to merge multiple Office 365 groups, teams? No, this option is a very good one. Let's consider if you want to decommission a team, merge a team, is a very valid question. But this group, this option is requested on the user voice of Teams. I think they are working on it. Hopefully, it should come in the future. Does organization Teams need an enterprise certificate? It's going to utilize the whole. It's a normal one. It's like you don't need any certificate which you need to buy. It's going to work as is, you don't need to buy any additional certificate. So in terms of last one, in terms of calendaring, it's using your mailbox calendar. So what I see as a Teams solution is all the components are pulled out for files. It's pulling from SharePoint or OneDrive for Business. For calendar, it's retrieving from the Exchange on-prem mailbox or the cloud mailbox. So all the components are interlinked. So for example, if you're in a hybrid scenario, your Exchange need to run federation commands. You need to have access to internet to run the get-federation information command for the cloud. If it cannot run that command, it cannot execute the federation and retrieve information. You can see this calendar tab missing for the on-prem users if you're in a hybrid scenario. Otherwise, if you're in a full cloud, you're safe. You will not have much of issues. Everything is handled very well. But if you're in half hybrid, half cloud, you will encounter a lot of things. Specifically, if you had Sky for Business prior, you need to clear all those Sky for Business attributes from the user. Then only these users even will be visible on the Teams admin console. So these are the aspects we just saw. And in terms of compliance center, you can create deletion of teams can be handled on alert policies. You can do that. Then what else in terms of the one last thing which I want to tell is the most common issue is which is very common, like when user puts a wrong phone number on the MFA, which you can like you can come here, you click users authentication. You can see some of the users putting their landline numbers after this situation. They're going home and the MFA is ringing on their landlines, you know. So in terms of such things, you will have to come here and you have to click re-require, re-register MFA. So it will reset the numbers and user will be asked to enter the phone number again, or you can enter the updated phone number here. This requires full administration access. The other aspect is if the Windows client is completely screwed on Teams and you cannot, if you're not able to troubleshoot anything, if you're seeing a lot of crappy issues coming over the Windows, what the best troubleshooting is just close the client, rename this app data Teams folder so it resets all the cache, because it stores a hell lot of stuff in terms of, so if there is a issue on the Teams client and the login is stuck completely, and if you're even the uninstall install doesn't work, and this is the other thing we are just doing and it works, you know. And I'll just cover some of the questions, and hopefully I hope you guys had a good time. Let's see some more questions, then I'll close the session.
There are 4 more. Please suggest a valuable TechNet explaining the architecture in details.
Yeah, sure. My site will be a good point. You will see a lot of familiar, what is the ongoing issue coming on Teams. So I regularly post, and definitely you can drop me an email. I can share some details with you, no problem on that. And thank you guys, and hopefully you had a good time. You can always reach me on my site as www.azure365pro.com, and we can get along and we have a good user group community for any technical discussions. Feel free to join, and thank you for spending your time, guys, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Sathesh. Couple of more questions before we wrap up. Huh?
Sure, yeah.
Can a user be part of just a private channel and the other standard channels, especially in a guest?
No, it is not possible, Deepa Shinde. It's not possible. If the user, it will allow you to only to add the member to the private channel only if he is a member of the general channel. So it's not going to, they are not going to allow that. And one good part which I missed to cover on this is when you create a dynamic channel, the best advantage you get is, see, in some companies, you can see a lot of politics going around. So I worked on Indian-based companies, European-based companies. So if you worked on some companies, you can see like the cross-department communication, they don't like much sometimes, you know, to be frank. So in terms of dynamic channel, if you put a dynamic channel and department attribute, it just closes down on a specific department or a specific hierarchy. So this guy cannot jump on to the other department, and he cannot invite into the channel. All he can do is create a chat group, but he can never invite. So this specific dynamic team will be like when the HR changes the department, or if the new guy joins. So it's just a completely a good fruit when you have a dynamic channel. And for Deepa Shinde's answer here, the answer is no. So to integrate with third-party apps, you have hundreds of apps, man. You know, we using Shifts app for shifts, and there is an app called Who, which is a very good app. You know, we have a lot of chatbots. The other part of third-party apps is like, if you're a company who will be audited, and if you, for example, I'm in the Middle East, you have a lot of data residency clauses for specific organizations. If you're working for a company which looks at data residency clauses, you have to really look on which apps you're going to allow and which apps you're not going to allow. You know, for example, the best option which we need to allow is, I'll show you that. So we always allow this option, like say allow specific apps, like allow specific apps, and say only like a specific app, you know. So then you slowly grow you approve your information security approves your app, you slowly introduce apps instead of throwing 300 apps to the user. The disadvantage of throwing all the 300 apps towards the user is first, the user will not understand and user is not going to use. The other aspect is if some specific set of users start using some apps, you will be forced to support those apps. And if you don't have much of knowledge, is it working properly? Is it not working? And these sort of aspects you will be getting into, and where the data is stored, and is it really allowed to use the app in the company? You know, these sort of questions you need to answer yourself before you start setting these settings. Teams connector, maybe in the next session is flow and a lot of aspects. Prasanna, definitely on the later sessions, as we have already crossed the time, you know. So can Link 2010 on-prem server integrate with Teams? In terms of Link 2010 on-prem, there is no sort of integration. So let's consider you are an on-prem user. You just run Azure AD Connect and you synchronize with cloud and you enable Teams. So this is how it works. But if you're going to have like if you're in a transition period, the whole discussion is different on which version you are in. You know, a lot of aspects are there. You know, it's a long discussion. Maybe we can take it offline. And thank you, Vivek. And thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, sir.
Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you Sathesh for the amazing session. We will definitely be meeting for future ones. And again, thank you everyone for joining. Make sure you are registered and joining our meetup group as we come together again for more sessions on various technologies, a diverse mix of topics as well. Have a great one and stay safe.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.